Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chakbadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. A sincere shalom to the hopeful like that's out there listening, learning, and or teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom. And before I play this video, I'm going to say this is fair use for educational purposes only. That disclaimer being out of the way, man. This is a performance of Swedish artist Makode Lind at the World Art Day. This was in 2012. I know it's a little bit old news, but it's called Tawab. You know, the Lord is exposing Esau. You know, this is the spirit of Esau Edom, the so-called white man. This is what they call art. Okay, the Lord is exposing them. These things are coming to the light. You know, I've never seen this video before, so it's new to me. And I'm sure it's new to a lot of you brothers out there, brothers and sisters, Akima Aqua. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play it. You know, this is what Esau be on, man. You see, man? Hey, and before I continue, for you YouTube goons out there, man, this is not intended to shock anybody. This is not intended to shock anybody, okay? Because I got a strike on a video one time. They thought I was trying to shock. I'm not trying to shock nobody because this is the reality, okay? This is for educational purposes only, man. Okay, but as you can see, okay, this is the spirit that Esau comes in, man. Let's go back. Let's just pause it. You know, you could see, this reminds me of those racist cartoons that you would see back in the day where they would exaggerate the mouth size with the lips. You know what I'm saying? Make it all cartoony. That's that racism, man, where they would make your lips look like ginormous or whatever. Okay? And then you could see these Edomite women smiling, you know, while they're cutting into this Jake, you know. And even though it's just like you know, they call what they call art. Okay, this is the spirit they're in, man. Look how excited these Edomites are to relive the slave times, man. You see, like, what kind of shit is that? You know what I'm saying? You call this art? But, yeah, man, this hatred that they have for our people goes all the way back to the book of Genesis, going all the way back to the beginning, you know, when Jacob supplanted Esau of the blessing. All right. This is Genesis 27:41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, in his mind, right? Because the word heart goes back to the word lab, which means mind. The days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. Right? So his intention was to kill, right? He's a murderer, just like you can remember with Cain and Abel, man. Okay? Where Cain killed righteous Abel. That's the same spirit that was that's in Esau, man. Cain. That's Cain in the reincarnation, if you can receive it. Okay? And you know that's why the scriptures tells us there was a perpetual hatred. This is Ezekiel 35:5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end, right? So because they did this, or because they had a perpetual hatred, you know, they were shedding the blood of the children of Israel during the time of their calamity, right? When we went through slavery, through captivity, these Edomites, okay, were putting our people to death, cutting them up. Okay, I was just reading some examples on the internet. Just doing some research. All right, there was this one Edomite. He brought one of his slaves out to the woods and cut his rod off and cut off the testicles and made the slave eat it and say that he liked it. Okay, just reading shit like that, it makes you sick, but you got to do it because you got to remember, man. Right, especially for those of you jakes that are new to this truth. Hey, you got to remember that what this devil did, man. Okay, there's a reason the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is going to do away with the Edomite race. Okay, it's because of shit like this, man. Okay, the Lord is not coming back to give everybody hugs, man. The stuff that happened during the time of slavery is atrocious. It's reprehensible. Okay, and what they continue to do to this day is reprehensible, man. They have to be done away with. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right, a people with this mindset are not fit to rule the earth. All right, but like it says here, we're going to continue on. It says, in the time that their iniquity had an end, therefore as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. And they love blood, man. All right, this reminds me also of the Epstein class. Okay, you can look up the situation with Epstein, man, and what they were doing on that island. And I guarantee you there were Jake children, man. I don't believe nothing they say talking about it was just Edomite children. Nah, man. Because if you look it up, I already looked it up earlier. How many children go missing every year by race? Approximately 460,000 children are reported missing annually in the U.S., while demographic reporting by FBI's National Crime Information Center shows that over 59% of missing youths are people of color. Right there, man. Okay, so where are they going? Are they not going to an island? They are. It's not just J. Stein Island. There's other islands. There's those underground bases. There's all type of secret places where they're doing abominable acts. These rich Edomites. Okay. It says racial breakdowns indicate that black youth are disproportionately represented, making up 33% of all missing child cases, right? Because they are what? A small percentage of the population. What was it? 18%? Right? But they go missing more than the other races. You see? Per capita. There's a per capita statistic. You see? Because they bring out the crime stat. Why not bring out this stat? Okay, our people are being hunted, man. Okay, you've seen this in the movies. Okay, and history will tell you as well. I got a little quick piece of history here. This is the book called The Delectable Negro. This is chapter 5. We're going to read it real quick. It says, most people do not readily associate Nat Turner, the heroic figure and slave insurrectionist, with the themes of auto-cannibalism, self-consumption, white male consumptive desires, or homoeroticism. These themes, however, strongly informed how Southampton, Virginia, whites punished Turner and treated his corpse after his public lynching. Okay, so y'all can remember Nat Turner. Those of you that don't know, you can look him up. Okay, he stood up against Esau back then, right? And it says, they lynched him, and it's going to tell you what they did, okay? After that, it says, in the 19th century, the white press throughout the country reported that Nat Turner had sold his body for dissection and spent the money on ginger cakes. Many papers reported that Turner feasted on these sweet ginger cakes before his own execution. This was an erroneous assertion, as slaves did not own themselves and therefore had no agency to barter and trade in their own flesh. More than anything, this ginger cake story reflected the psychology of whites who needed to convince themselves that black men, such as Turner, somehow consented to and were complicit in their own social consumption, right? Just like they blame so-called blacks now, they say, um, they act as if it's almost like a way to um, whatchamacallit. It's just like a way to justify what happened. Like when you bring up certain pictures of blacks that were whipped, what do the Edomites say? They say, well, blacks own black slaves too. You know, that's how they justify it. Or they'll say something like, "Oh, well, whites were enslaved too," and it's like there's a difference, man. The whites were indentured servants. That's voluntary servitude. It's not the same thing. And the blacks that own other blacks as slaves, well, that's the system that you Edomites created, man. So what is the theme here is the so-called white man always has an excuse and that anything to avoid accountability, man. Okay? And so what they did here was they made up a story on the newspaper to say that this man sold his body. And what did they do with it? It says this linking a consent to black self-consumption was a common idea that found its way into lynching ritual practices in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. In 1934, whites made Claude Neal, whom they lynched in Jackson Country, Florida, eat his cut off penis and testicles. James McGovern relates the details of the Neal lynching in Anatomy of a Lynching. After taking the nigger to the woods about 4 miles from Greenwood, they cut off his penis. He was made to eat it. Then they cut off his testicles and made him eat them and say he liked it. Right, so they, they made up a fake story and they took Nat Turner's body, probably ate it, cut off certain pieces, used them as souvenirs. Like when they hunt deer and they put the head of the deer up on the wall and shit like that. Now it doesn't really specify here, but you can look it up, and these are things that happened during slavery, man. Okay, and so these are the same violent people, man. And that's why we often say, this ghetto gang culture and shit like that comes from Edomites. That was taught to our people. Okay, because you look at all the rappers who are pushing gang culture and gang banging, all that bullshit. Who's paying out those rappers, man? It's small hats at the top, so-called white people who call themselves JEWs. They're the ones who control the media too. And what do they portray on the media? Our people being the face of crime, so on and so forth. So it all goes back to Esau, man. Okay, just like we see here, them fabricating stories and shit like that, man. But anyway, back to the scriptures, man. I want to go ahead and move on to Obadiah chapter 1 verse 6. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? And this year, especially 2026, there's been a lot of things exposed about Esau on a high level, man. 2025 and 2026, like the thing with the Epstein files, which, that we knew that for decades, man. But the point is that it's being really brought out to the light. Now the average bozo knows about the Epstein files, okay? Now the average person is starting to see what these Edomites are about, man. You got these Klans members and white supremacists on Instagram talking about, oh yeah, we throw y'all in the water. That's why we take you camping, so on and so forth, because the Lord is exposing them on a high level, man. Because before this devil gets destroyed by the Lord, the people are going to know why this country has to be destroyed, man. Because of the blood that was shed here, man. Okay? All the Native American Indians, the so-called Negroes, you so-called Latinos, all right? The Lord is going to avenge us of this devils, man. Let's grab Numbers, where it says, It's Numbers 35 and 33. So you shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood it defileth the land, right? America is defiled by blood. Okay, there's a lot of blood on this land, innocent blood that was shed. It says, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it, right? So the Edomites must suffer for what they have done to our people, okay? Because Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai is a righteous power. He's not going to let bygones be bygones, man. You Edomites have to suffer, man. This is going to be you Edomites in the kingdom, except we're not going to be eating you because that's against our customs. All right, but you're going to be getting Swiss cheese up, man, because that's righteousness. All right, that's called righteous judgment. Okay, that's why the scripture says what? It says prepare what? Slaughter. All right. Isaiah 14 and real quick. Yeah, 14. We'll just start at 21. It says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. Oh, well, we didn't do that. We have nothing to do with that. Wrong, because the scripture says you will suffer for the iniquity of your fathers because you are your fathers. That's why the scriptures talks about reincarnation. So these Edomites, the slave masters, okay? The slave masters that did this to our people, okay? They have been reincarnated, and here they are remembering a time in their past where they got to enjoy this in real life. They're remembering because that was them in their past lives. And here they are reminiscing. Okay? And so, all you Edomites that are here now, okay, you were here before. And so this is why the scripture says this, man. The Lord is not just punishing innocent people for what their fathers did. No, the Lord is punishing you because you are your forefathers. The scripture says every third and fourth generation you come back. All right? Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. Right? You're not going to rise up. You're not going to fill the world with cities, man. All right? The so-called white race is in decline because the Lord is destroying them, man, systematically breaking down Babylon, and eventually it's going to be cut off, man. This whole country is going to go up in flames in that thermonuclear destruction. Okay? Verse 22 says, for I will rise up against them, saith Yahweh of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and some and nephew, said Yahweh. And so, once this place gets destroyed, we know that these devils are basically going to go head first into slavery. All right, the ones that are still alive, which are going to be who? The international bankers, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and all them, Bloombergs, DuPont, so on and so forth. Okay, they going head first into slavery, and then after them 1,000 years, what's going to happen? Let's go back to Obadiah. In verse 10, it says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, right? The Lord speaking to the Edomites. For his violence against Jacob, what? Shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever, right? Because we know that the Edomite race is the only race that's going to be done away with. And for good reason, man. This is enough reason right here, man. What kind of sick, twisted spirit you got to have to find this type of shit enjoyable, man? You see? Not to mention all the other atrocities that we often speak about on this channel and other brothers' channels who go into the wicked nature of Esau, man. All right? Because, and before I get the rest of that in Obadiah, man, I want to grab a few more quick precepts. This is Psalms 10 and 23. It is as sport, right, for a fool to do mischief. Let's get this word sport real quick, man. H7814. Okay? And it means laughter, laughing stock, mocking, derision, laughter, joyful. Okay? It is joyful for what? Okay? It is joyful to a fool to do mischief, right? That fool being the Edomites. Right? It's sport for them to do this. But a man of understanding has wisdom, right? We know this is not profitable for life. You know, being cannibals and enjoying other people's suffering. You know, that's anti-life. You know, this is how, you know, capitalism, you know, fucking exploiting people and nature to turn a profit. You know, this selfish, greedy attitude that Esau has. You know, Esau's the ultimate niggard. You got all this wealth, but you still want people to be poor and broke and be in scarcity. You know, just a few examples, man. And this is their spirit, man. This is what bleeds into the rest of society. This is why the world is fucked up. These people are in power, man. Okay, this is Proverbs 4:16. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause some to fall. Right? You know, they'd be squirming in their bed, thinking, "Damn, I didn't do enough wickedness today. You know, I didn't fuck enough people over today." You see? But this is the reason why the Lord has to do away with them, man. There's no room for wickedness in the righteous kingdom of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Alright, the kingdom of heaven is going to be perfect. You know, like the scripture says, of the increase of his government and righteousness, there shall be no end. Okay, how can there be increase of righteousness if these Edomites are still walking around? Okay, nah, they have to be done away with. And that's what the scripture says here, man. Alright. Obadiah 1 verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. Right? Jacob, the southern kingdom, and Joseph, the northern kingdom. Right? All 12 tribes. Alright? We're going to be fire and a flame. It says in the house of Esau for stubble. Right? Stubble is something that's flammable. Okay, we're going to devour these Edomites, man. It says, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh hath spoken it. That's right, because the Lord hates Esau, and we hate Esau. All right? Because he's the fucking devil, and he has to be done away with, man. All right? This is the nation that the scriptures calls the wicked, and they gotta be done away with, man. The Lord has a perpetual hatred against these devils, man. Perpetual anger. All right, let's get that real quick. I'm gonna finish on that, Lord's will. All right, this is Malachi 1 and verse 4, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness. Right? That's why Edom is the wicked. It says, and the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. That's right, man. Because the Lord made them to be the wicked. Okay, the Lord, this is the Lord's movie. And he created the good guys, and he created the villain. All right, these are the villains, man. These fucking Edomites. All right, and they're going to be done away with. All right, but that's it, Akim. I want to finish by giving all glory, honor, and praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim HaKodash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth. A sincere shalom to the hopeful like this out there, listening, learning, and or teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom wa. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Shalom.